Hello, my name is Tim Cavazos, and I'm here to talk to you about ethics in Army recruiting. Army soldiers fill many roles. They are doctors, lawyers, and engineers. They are electricians, computer programmers, helicopter pilots, police officers, logistics experts, and civil affairs representatives. The Army's constant need for a diverse range of individual soldiers, each with his or her own expertise, is what sets it apart from other military branches. Along with the psychological contract a corporation holds with their employees, there are ethical standards of acceptable behavior. We have our own personal values. We were raised in a manner that taught us the virtues and principles by which we live. The Army recruiters and soldiers are no exception to the rule. The Army Recruiting Command mission is to recruit professional, volunteer soldiers capable of effectively executing operations in the Army complex operating environment. The recruiters are sergeants, usually with 6 or more years of service. They've been part of the Army units previously where they have been indoctrinated with Army values. The Army values are very detailed: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These are the expected behaviors of all soldiers, including the recruiting command. Many United States Army recruiting non-commissioned officers were either charged or convicted of criminal activity across the country. These cases are most heinous and egregious against the integrity of the soldier. These cases directly related to the soldier's duties as a recruiter, when they could range from sexual assault, unethical tactics, poor leadership, and even bank robbery. But the cases of fraudulent enlistment, such as misleading the recruits, test administration fraud, including bribery, fraudulent medical or fraudulent law violation history, all in order to enlist in the Army, happen far too often. In an 8-year span from 2001 to 2009, I discovered at least 11 incidents in the news of fraudulent enlistment. Recruiters may commit violations ranging from falsifying documents to telling a recruit not to reveal a legal or medical problem that could bar enlistment. This is against the categorical imperative, principle-based, with a duty or universality of action, not to falsify a recruit's qualifications. The recruiters have a duty to provide a quality applicant to the Army units. The recruiters are held to the same high standards. According to a new government report, allegations of wrongdoing by military recruiters rose in 2005 and in 2006. Violations range from falsifying documents to telling a recruit not to reveal a legal or medical problem that could bar enlistment. The rise in recruiter problems could reflect pressure to meet wartime recruiting goals. This pressure is likely from commanders of the recruiting stations where they work, who are charged with the mission, who are supposed to motivate and encourage the sergeants in accomplishment of the mission, but the commanders have been found guilty of ethics violations concerning their treatment of their staff. To categorize the unfair treatment of their staff, this maltreatment is considered poor leadership. In a case of poor leadership, commanders regard for principle-based theory of ethics to preserve the rights of their staff. Treating them with respect and dignity was totally disregarded. In the Houston Recruiting Battalion, command leadership created problems including poor morale, long work hours, unpredictable schedules, restricting recruiters' time with their families, which leads to strained personal relationships. They used humiliation on their recruiters, and one recruiter had been pressured to admit he was a failure. And the report found that this maltreatment of the soldier contributed to the recruiter's suicide the following week. Recruiters tell of 12 to 14-hour work days, 6 or 7 days a week. And if quotas are missed, recruiters were punished with even longer duty hours, threatening with losing rank or being kicked out of the Army. Mental health treatment is difficult with little free time and access to doctors and therapists. The recruiter's safety and their psychological contract of an enlistment in the military was violated. They commonly understood the stress of war, of combat, fear of death, or being injured, but never having to deal with the possibility of being put out of the Army as a failure. From 1998 to 2001, I served as a detail recruiter in the Dallas Recruiting Battalion. I was selected without my own application by the Department of the Army for recruiting duty. I came back to the United States, completed the recruiter training, and was sent to the rural areas south of Dallas for duty. I categorized my recruiting duty as difficult, complex, challenging, and demanding. But I was recognized as the top rookie recruiter the first year and was a top recruiter the second year. The third year, I was commonly visited by the commander and sergeant major who I had to explain my production to and the volume of recruits. I was involuntarily extended on recruiting, actually, because of the Army's solution to the problem of difficulty filling the ranks. Their solution was to put more recruiters in the field. I can say that the last year of my recruiting duty, I solidly put one recruit in per month. I actually saw a recruiter be relieved of his duties who couldn't do that. But I think the commanders evaluated his work ethic and under the principle-based theory of justice, with fairness and equality, sent that recruiter back to his chosen field. I was in discussions and evaluations for recruiting production, but never reprimanded. And I remember being warned or told my job was in jeopardy. And I understood the stress and the sense of urgency to be successful. If ethical dilemma arose for me, my character and virtue stood in the influence of my actions. I never once told anyone to lie to join. I simply moved on. I asked them if they knew anyone else who may be interested in joining the Army. I also never put a person in the Army who required a waiver for a medical condition or law violation. If they did require a waiver, I would refer them to my buddy in the recruiting station. And then he actually went on to work for the Department of the Army as a career counselor, where he was evaluating and approving or disapproving waivers for entrance into the Army. I served proudly with integrity and retired with all my virtues. An NCO's own character and virtue that can influence their behavior they will not and cannot do anything to jeopardize their career in the military. The pride is in the uniform, and the goals of always completing the mission would never allow the acceptance of inferior recruits. Inferior recruits would not be accepted for the greater good. So the utilitarian theory, where the means justify the ends, does not apply. The rights theory and justice theory, which are principle-based, apply much more to the recruiter's value system of ethics. They need to be treated with respect, as much as they should treat the applicants and recruits with respect. So in closing, not all recruiters suffer the difficulty in the mission of recruiting for America's Army. There are many successful recruiters, some successful because of their area where there may be more propensity to enlist in the Army. Some may be successful because they are motivated and they use the battalion commanders and command sergeant majors' guidelines as a beacon to follow. The successful recruitment to any career or profession may also depend on all the incentives as well as what's important, the applicant's qualifications. Thank you.